They came in a spaceship to see the Earth, another planet manned with human aliens. They came, saw, and went, leaving the Earth beings gaping at their advancement and superior technology. The light, airy kitchen was filled with music from the radio that sat upon one of the workbenches. The children argued over the kitchen tables as their mother worked at one of the units. "Mom, he's taken all the crispy pops." Mum turned and, pointing towards the other cereal packets, said, "There's more on the table. Have one of those." She stopped as her husband entered the kitchen and smiled. "Morning, dear. Breakfast is nearly ready." "Just juice this morning," he said, picking up the paper and scrutinizing the front page. He took his seat at the table. "Juice?" "Yes, don't fancy much this morning." The music on the radio stopped as an excited voice took its place. "This is incredible news. I just cannot believe it, but apparently a huge flying saucer has just entered our atmosphere. I will now hand you over to our reporter who has just arrived at the scene." The radio crackled as the connection was made to the reporter. "This is amazing," said the female reporter. "The craft is so big that it seems impossible for it to hang there in the sky. It seems to be making a slow progress to the capital, and our ground team estimates that at its present speed it will reach there in 4 hours. His wife crossed the room to stand by him. "What is it, dear?" "I don't know. Perhaps a joke." "Are aliens coming, Daddy?" asked his daughter, looking excited. "No monsters or aliens are coming. Now go and get ready for school." "But they just said so," they continued. "Get ready for school." The children frowned. "Oh, Mom." The children left the table, chattering about aliens and monsters. "They're not really aliens, are they?" "No, I'm sure they're not. It may be just an advertising campaign or something," he told her reassuringly. "Are you sure?" "Yes, I am." He looked out of the window with a frown of worry on his face. The morning was very bright and warm as he alighted from the train onto the platform. It was a familiar journey, but this day was different. Other passengers didn't seem as noisy. Everyone seemed quiet and preoccupied. There was an atmosphere around that he could not quite grasp. Was it the flying saucer? He had given it some thought during the journey, but he had quickly discounted that as being nothing more than just a hoax. Aliens do not happen. They only appear in films or books. He made his way down the street on the short walk to his office when he became aware of the quiet but invasive hum. He stopped. His heart pounded in his chest, and blood rushed to his head as he looked up. The craft was large and silver in color. Not silver, but like a brushed metal. It was oval in shape, and the detail of separate panels could be seen. Along the hull were slits that he thought could only be windows. At several points, dotted around the craft, were antennae and other pieces of equipment. What their purpose was could only be guessed. All the time there was the persistent low hum that made the very air vibrate. This was no hoax. He was convinced of that now. Thoughts raced through his head, but all he could do was stand and stare at the thing. It had been just over a week now that the spaceship had arrived, and as he made his way to work, he realized that he hardly noticed the hum anymore. The most annoying things were the out-of-towners who blocked the streets. He could understand their excitement, for on the first day the ship arrived, he had rushed to the nearest shop to buy himself a throwaway camera to take snaps. He noticed that a whole industry had grown up around the aliens. Stalls in the streets sold everything from T-shirts, hats, and dolls to books. The media had also jumped onto the bandwagon. It seemed that every television program revolved around the alien ship. He saw the scientists giving their considered opinions and the arguments that ensued. Some had said that it was the first step to an invasion and that we should arm ourselves before more ships arrived. Others contested that such a sophisticated society that could produce technology like that could only have peaceful intentions. Some politicians, with backup from the military, agreed that it was an invasion, while others disagreed and proposed a wait and see attitude. He tended to agree with that. A species with such technological skill would make our weapons look useless. It would be like sticks against guns. Science fiction writers also had their say, discussing what the aliens could be like, while other authors with an I told you so attitude were able to re release their old books. Even comedians got into the act, making up jokes about the aliens. He placed his case on his desk and looked out of the window. His view had always been impressive, a panoramic vista of the city. However, since the arrival of the ship, most of that had been blocked out of view by the hull of the craft. He looked at the spaceship and noticed how the sun glinted on the upper side of the hull, and thought that in its own way it was quite beautiful. He turned to his desk and turned on the portable TV. And even though he was bored with the whole media circus, he still wanted to keep abreast of any developments. As he turned the sound up on the television, he noticed that the hum had stopped. Turning to the window, he looked down to see crowds swarming to get a better view of the spaceship. He looked at the TV, and the reporter at the scene confirmed what was happening. Rushing out of his office, he grabbed his camera and made his way into the street. The summer heat was stifling, but it was made worse by the thousands of people in the streets. He pushed his way through the crowd to get a better view. He saw people on their knees praying. Others were chanting, holding crystals up as if offering the ship some kind of sacrifice. Then it happened. A low musical note erupted from the ship. Windows in the nearby buildings imploded. Crowds screamed and ran away from the falling glass. If he had stayed in office, he would surely have been ripped to shreds by the glass. The music notes continued in a cacophony that grated on the ears. It had no musical content whatsoever. The music lasted for about 10 minutes. Then, as abruptly as it had started, it stopped. "It looks as if they want to jam with us," remarked a young boy to his friend. "Call that music?" she retorted. He smiled at that, as he found that the music that the kids listened to today was nothing more than noise. He could hear one of the TV reporters talking into a camera nearby. "And it may be possible that the alien creatures communicate by music. I'll hand you back to the studio for a comment by our leading government scientist." He looked at the reporter and wished that he had bought a pocket TV to see the rest of the report. Back in his office, he watched the workmen cleaning the glass away. He wondered if people realized that the aliens were not just visitors without an ear for music. For better or for worse, they had changed the lives of everyone who lived on Earth. Gradually, people would understand that the universe was populated by different kinds of creatures. These people, if you could call them that, had a completely different appearance, different way of seeing life, and different needs. The Earthlings would have to learn to adjust with them. Perhaps the aliens were a blessing in disguise, because now everyone would forget to belong to different countries and regions. They would all unite to become people of the Earth. He hoped that one day they would only want to be people of the universe.